Richard Rawlings just dropped a bombshell. For years, fans wondered why that one episode vanished without warning. No replays, no explanations, nothing. Now, Richard finally reveals the truth, and the real reason it was pulled from TV is far more shocking than anyone imagined. Stay tuned. This story hits harder than you think. What went on behind the scenes? Most fans remember the final season of Fast and Loud airing in 2020. But what many people don't know is that something strange happened behind the scenes. The team at Gas Monkey Garage was already deep into filming new episodes. Season 16 had started rolling out on March 30, 2020, showing fresh builds, new projects, and the same wild energy the show had always had. Everything looked normal on TV. Cars were being restored, Richard Rawlings was cracking jokes, and Gas Monkey Garage seemed busier than ever. Then, on June 8, 2020, the episode suddenly stopped. No thank you for watching, no big finale, nothing that hinted the show was coming to an end. It just ended. For months, fans didn't know what had happened. Then, months after the last episode aired, Richard Rawlings finally broke the silence. He sat down on the Joe Rogan Experience in December 2020 and revealed that Fast and Loud was officially over. But here's where the story gets even more mysterious. According to Rawlings, the cancellation didn't happen because the show was failing or because the crew ran out of ideas. Season 16 had episodes still being worked on. Some builds, some stories, and maybe even a true final episode were never shown. It's almost as if a last chapter existed, but the public never saw it. Rawlings explained that things behind the scenes had become complicated. He wanted to grow, explore new ventures, and push the Gas Monkey brand into fresh territory. But his contract with Discovery made that difficult. He couldn't launch other projects, like the podcast he'd been planning without the network's approval. Then came the breaking point. Discovery wanted control of his social media presence. Over the years, Rawlings had built millions of followers, all tied directly to Gas Monkey Garage. When the network pushed to take ownership of those accounts, negotiations broke down. That fight, Rawlings said, was one of the main reasons he walked away. He described it as a perfect storm. Creative disagreements, limited freedom, and a contract dispute big enough to end a hit show that had lasted 16 episodes. But what about that missing episode? There were no hints inside the final aired episode that anything was wrong. No goodbye message. No sign that this was the end of the road. It's one of the reasons fans still ask whether a final episode was filmed but never approved for broadcast. The timing makes it feel like something was pulled at the last minute, an episode we may never get to see. After leaving Discovery, Rawlings finally got the freedom he wanted. He began working on new projects, planning fresh shows, expanding the Gas Monkey brand, and gearing up for the podcast he had been holding back from creating. But for fans of Fast and Loud, the show's ending will always feel unfinished because it ended not with a final send-off, but with silence. A sudden stop and a chapter that closed without warning. Some say a missing episode exists. Some think it never made it past the editing room. Whatever the truth is, Fast and Loud didn't fade out, it vanished. That unanswered ending still gets people talking today. But it also raises another question. What has Richard Rawlings been up to since the show ended? Life after the show, after Fast and Loud, vanished from TV and Richard Rawlings walked away from Discovery, a lot of fans wondered what would happen next. Losing a long-running show can crush a career, but Richard didn't slow down for a second. In many ways, leaving television opened a new chapter for him, one that's just as loud, just as fast, and maybe even bigger than before. Today, Richard Rawlings is still the engine behind the Gas Monkey world. The TV cameras may be gone, but the brand is everywhere. At the center of it all is Gas Monkey Garage, the shop that started everything. It's still running full speed, still building wild cars, still flipping classics, and still showing up at major events. In fact, the crew has been turning heads at SEMA 2025 with fresh builds, including a standout 1970 Chevelle that Richard proudly showed off online. The garage never went dark. If anything, it feels more active now than in the final years on TV. But Richard's focus has widened far beyond the shop floor. Since leaving Discovery, he's been pouring his energy into something he always wanted to expand: hospitality and entertainment. The Gas Monkey name is now stamped on venues across the country. One of the biggest new projects is the Gas Monkey Ice House in The Colony, Texas. It opened in May 2025, and its massive 13,000 square feet, a huge outdoor space, and a full menu of easy, crowd-pleasing food. It's designed to be a place where people hang out, listen to music, and feel the same loud, playful spirit that Gas Monkey fans love. Then there's the new bar in Sturgis, South Dakota, which opened in 2024. Sturgis is one of the world's most famous motorcycle rally locations, so setting up a Gas Monkey bar there is almost like planting a flag in the heart of biker country. Richard wanted to bring back the feeling of the original Gas Monkey Bar and Grill, and Sturgis gave him the perfect place to do it. Even though Gas Monkey Live closed in 2020 and some older venues shut their doors, the brand is still alive in new forms. The restaurants that remain continue to pull in longtime fans. On the business side, Richard has kept his hands firmly on the wheel. Gas Monkey Garage is still buying cars, restoring them, flipping them, and experimenting with new ideas. The company also launched a wave of giveaways through Gas Monkey Gives, offering everything from classic rides to modern supercars. One of the most talked about promotions has been the 2026 Corvette ZR1 giveaway, a sign that Rawlings knows how to keep people excited. He's also stayed tied to motorsports. His partnership with FHO Racing at the Isle of Man TT shows that he hasn't stopped pushing the Gas Monkey name into big, high-risk racing scenes. It's the kind of move he couldn't fully explore while tied to a TV contract, and now he's free to go all in. If you want to keep up with him, the best place isn't cable TV anymore. It's social media. His YouTube channel, Richard Rawlings and Gas Monkey Garage, has become the new home for the brand. Instead of producers and TV schedules, the videos now feel more direct, more casual, and more personal. Fans get to see the day-to-day life inside the garage without the scripted build cycles of reality TV. They watch road trips, shop projects, car hunts, and behind-the-scenes moments that never would have fit into Discovery's format. On Instagram, Richard posts constant updates, new builds, meet and greets, events, car reveals, and whatever crazy thing he's working on that week. When he unveiled that 1970 Chevelle at SEMA, it wasn't on a TV premiere. It was on his phone, straight to his followers. He's building his own audience on his own terms. Even though fans are still wondering about the missing Fast and Loud finale, Richard Rawlings isn't living in the past. He left TV, but he didn't leave the world he created. The show may be over, yet the Gas Monkey name is bigger than ever. Surprisingly, the end of Fast and Loud didn't slow him down. It actually gave him more space to move faster. The Gas Monkey story is still going, just not on the screen we thought it would. But how did he manage to change himself this much? What led him here? Richard turned his life around with new businesses and a stronger online presence. But before he could get there, he had to make a move no one saw coming. He started making big changes to his money situation so he could push his plans forward. And it all began with something that surprised a lot of fans. He started selling a large amount of his property. For years, Richard was known for having one of the most impressive car collections in the automotive world. Rare classics, hot rods, muscle cars, imports, you name it, he probably had it. But in late 2022, he surprised everyone by putting almost the entire collection up for auction. And this wasn't a small sale. Dozens of vehicles, some of his most prized builds, went up for grabs in a massive online auction event. Richard explained that he wasn't giving up cars. He was simply changing direction. He wanted to refresh his collection with different types of vehicles, especially high-end European models with a strong history and better long-term value. Along with the cars, he also sold the commercial property where he stored much of that collection. This building was a big part of his brand for years, but letting it go was part of a larger plan. Richard has always lived by a simple rule in business: buy low, build fast, and sell high. To him, selling property, even property he loved, wasn't unusual. It was a strategy. He's never been the kind of person who holds on to things forever. He moves quickly, adjusts, and reinvests. This wave of sales marked one of the biggest restructures Richard has ever done. But it wasn't a sign of trouble. It was more like clearing the runway for what comes next. By selling the cars and the storage building, he freed up cash, space, and energy to go after new opportunities. And that's exactly what he did. Even as he sold major pieces of his past, he kept buying new properties. Fans spotted him touring homes, picking up new real estate, and investing in places tied to his expanding hospitality projects. The Gas Monkey Ice House, projects like that required fresh investment, and Richard knew how to move assets around to make it happen. What hasn't changed is his connection to the heart of the brand. Richard still owns the main Gas Monkey garage in Dallas, the birthplace of everything he's built. That shop is still his command center, still the place where new ideas come to life, still the home of the builds featured on YouTube and social media. No matter how many properties he buys or sells, Gas Monkey Garage stays at the center of the map. So while it might sound surprising that Richard let go of so many properties, from cars to buildings, it all fits the bigger picture. He's not downsizing, he's reshaping. He's making room for the next version of his empire. And for someone like Richard Rawlings, that next version is always louder, bigger, and a little crazier than the last. The man who walked away from television didn't disappear. He reinvented himself. From selling iconic cars to opening huge venues, from letting go of old properties to acquiring new ones, Richard is still on the move. The cameras may no longer be rolling on Fast and Loud, but the story of Gas Monkey is very much alive, and Richard Rawlings is still writing the next chapter. To really see how far he's come, we need to go back to where it all started. The Rise Gas Monkey Garage wasn't just another shop. From the very first day, it was an expression of everything Richard Rawlings had learned and dreamed of. The smell of oil, the hiss of welders, the roar of engines. It was the perfect playground for a man who had spent a lifetime chasing speed and sparks. But turning a dream into reality is never simple, and Richard quickly discovered that passion alone wouldn't pay the bills or win the respect of the automotive world. Opening Gas Monkey Garage in 2002 was a gamble. Richard had sold Lincoln Press and invested every dollar, every hour, and every ounce of himself into the project. Early on, the shop wasn't glamorous. The walls were bare, the tools limited, and the projects often messy. Cars came in all shapes, sizes, and states of disrepair. Some were forgotten classics left to rust. Others were custom builds dreamed up by clients with wild ideas. To Richard, each car was more than metal and paint. It was a challenge, a story, and a chance to prove what he could do. Those first years were filled with long nights and even longer weekends. Richard worked alongside a small crew, tinkering, negotiating, and hustling to keep the garage alive. Business was unpredictable. Some months were lean. Some months brought a flood of projects. Every sale, every restored vehicle, every satisfied client was a small victory, a sign that the garage could survive, even thrive. Richard's energy and vision started to attract attention. Word spread about the garage in Dallas, about a man who didn't just fix cars, he revived them, gave them character, gave them life. Then came a turning point. Around the mid-2000s, Richard and his team started attracting media attention. Small features in car magazines, local TV spots, and automotive expos began to put Gas Monkey Garage on the map. It wasn't Hollywood, but it was enough to show that something bigger could happen. And Richard was ready. He had learned from Lincoln Press how to brand himself, how to create a story around a business, and he applied every lesson to the garage. Gas Monkey wasn't just a shop anymore. It was a name, a brand, a symbol of passion and boldness in the automotive world. But fame, as Richard would soon learn, comes with its own challenges. When the Discovery Channel approached him to create a television series, the opportunity was thrilling, but it also brought pressure, scrutiny, and expectations that stretched far beyond the garage. Filming schedules, deadlines, and scripted moments weren't what Richard was used to. He was used to freedom, to following his instincts, to letting cars and creativity lead the way. Now he had producers, cameras, and millions of viewers watching every move. Despite the challenges, Fast and Loud became a hit. The energy, the builds, the personalities, it resonated with fans. Richard and the Gas Monkey crew weren't just restoring cars. They were telling stories, capturing the excitement of creation, and showing the world that a garage in Dallas could have global influence. But even as the cameras rolled and ratings climbed, Richard never lost sight of the real goal: building a legacy rooted in cars, passion, and creativity. And yet, fame brought difficult choices. The show grew, the brand expanded, and contracts, creative control, and business opportunities started to pull Richard in different directions. The same drive that had fueled his teenage ventures, buying, fixing, selling, and dreaming, now had to balance television obligations, business growth, and personal ambition. Through it all, Richard never stopped moving forward. The lessons from childhood, from Lincoln Press, from countless nights in junkyards and garages had prepared him for this life. He understood that success wasn't static. It demanded risk, reinvention, and sometimes letting go of what you love to make room for what comes next. Gas Monkey Garage became more than a business. It became a testament to a kid from Fort Worth who saw potential in rusted frames, who turned passion into a career, and who refused to settle for anything less than what he dreamed. Even years after Fast and Loud stopped filming, Richard's unstoppable drive hasn't slowed down. From selling prized cars at auctions to launching new hospitality projects, from growing his brand to reinventing his personal empire, he's still chasing the excitement of building and creating. The engines are still running, the sparks are still flying, and the story of Richard Rawlings and Gas Monkey Garage isn't finished. But while he's made big moves in business, what is his personal life like? How does he live when he's not working? Beyond the fame, Richard Rawlings may be known for roaring engines, fast cars, and a personality as big as Texas itself. But behind all that speed and success lies a personal life full of twists, challenges, and emotional highs and lows. For a man whose life revolves around motion, slowing down for love has never been easy. In the late 90s, Richard met Suzanne Marie Mergele, who would become both his second and later his third wife. When they first married in 1990, Richard was just beginning his career, building Lincoln Press and laying the foundation for what would become Gas Monkey Garage. Suzanne stood by him through long nights, financial stress, and the uncertainty of chasing a dream. But as Gas Monkey and Fast and Loud grew, the pressures of fame created distance between them. After 10 years of marriage, they divorced. 15 years later, in 2015, a spark reignited during a trip to Cabo San Lucas. The couple remarried, hoping for a fresh start. Life seemed perfect for a time. Fast and Loud was a global hit. Gas Monkey was a worldwide brand, and Richard's personal and professional worlds appeared aligned. But fame brought its own challenges. The demands of running a growing business, maintaining a public image, and constant travel placed strain on the relationship. By 2019, they separated again, describing it as a mutual decision after years of trying to make it work. That same year, Richard found love again, this time with Katerina Deason, the ex-wife of Texas billionaire Darwin Deason. Their romance was fast, passionate, and intense. In August 2020, Richard proposed in Mexico, and less than a year later, on June 20, 2021, they married in a quiet, intimate ceremony in Key West, away from the cameras and chaos of business life. Through all the marriages, separations, and reunions, one truth remains. Richard Rawlings loves with the same intensity that drives everything else in his life. His relationships, like his career, are lived full throttle, embracing passion, risk, and the uncertainty that comes with opening oneself fully to another person. Behind the engines, the shows, and the public persona is a man navigating love, heartbreak, and the challenge of balancing personal life with a life built on speed and ambition. Even now, Richard's personal journey mirrors his professional one. Just as he buys, rebuilds, and reinvents cars, he also navigates relationships, learning, growing, and investing fully in the people he loves. Suzanne, Katerina, and the chapters in between have all shaped the man fans admire. A relentless dreamer, a risk-taker, and someone who refuses to settle for anything less than living life at maximum speed. For Richard Rawlings, the road never stops, and neither does the pursuit of love, happiness, and adventure. Through heartbreak, reunion, and newfound love, he continues moving forward, always chasing the thrill, always building, and always living full throttle.